The doorbell rang at 7 in the morning on a Saturday, shattering the peaceful silence of my apartment. I dragged myself out of bed, annoyed at whoever had the audacity to disturb my one day to sleep in. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing there with my younger brother Marcus beside her, both wearing expressions that immediately put me on edge. I hadn't seen them in over a year, not since I'd finally moved out of that toxic household and built a life for myself. "Diana, open this door right now." My mother's voice rang through the hallway, sharp and commanding as always. I took a deep breath and opened the door. "Mom, Marcus, what are you doing here?" My mother pushed past me without waiting for an invitation, her eyes already scanning my apartment with the calculating gaze I knew too well. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Marcus followed, smirking as he threw himself onto my couch like he owned the place. "Nice place," Mom said, though her tone suggested it was anything but a compliment. "Must be expensive. This neighborhood, this building." "I did some research, Diana. I know exactly how much you're making now." My stomach dropped. I'd been careful, so careful, to keep my professional life separate from my family. After years of being the responsible one, the one who sacrificed while Marcus got everything handed to him, I'd finally escaped. I'd worked 3 jobs to put myself through community college, then transferred to a university on scholarship. I'd graduated with honors, landed a position at a tech startup, and when the company went public last year, my stock options had made me comfortable. Not wealthy, but secure in a way I'd never been growing up. "How did you find out?" I asked quietly. "Marcus's friend Tyler works in finance. He saw your name on some list. A list of people who made very good money from their company stock." She moved closer, her perfume overpowering in my small living room. $2 million, Diana. You made $2 million, and you've been living here in luxury while your family struggles." "Struggles?" I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped. "You and Dad both work. You own your house outright." "We have expenses," she snapped. "Marcus needs a new car. His old one is embarrassing, and I've always wanted to renovate the kitchen. Plus, your father's business could use an investment." "Let me guess," I said, my voice hardening. "You want me to give you money." "Not give, exactly." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We're family, Diana. Family takes care of each other. I think $500,000 is reasonable. That's only a quarter of what you made, and you're young and single. You don't need all that money." Marcus finally spoke up from the couch. "Come on, sis. Don't be selfish. I really need that car. The Mustang I want is only $60,000. That's nothing to you now." I stared at them both, memories flooding back. Every birthday where Marcus got the expensive gift while I got a card. Every time I needed something for school and was told we couldn't afford it, while Marcus got the latest gaming console. The way they'd laughed when I said I wanted to go to college, calling it a waste of money, but later took out loans for Marcus's failed attempt at a degree he'd dropped out of after 1 semester. "Get out," I said softly. "What?" My mother's face flushed red. "I said get out. Both of you. How dare you?" She moved toward me, her finger jabbing at my chest. "I raised you. I fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owe me." "I owe you?" The words came out louder than I intended. "You did the legal minimum required of a parent. And half the time I raised myself because you were too busy spoiling Marcus. I worked for everything I have. Everything. You don't get to show up here and demand I hand it over." Marcus stood up, his face twisted in that familiar petulant expression. "You were always stuck up. Always thought you were better than us because you got good grades." Newsflash, Diana. Nobody cares about your stupid degrees. You just got lucky with that stock. Luck? I laughed harshly. I worked 80-hour weeks for 2 years. I took a risk on a startup when I could have taken a safe corporate job. I earned every single share of that stock. My mother's expression shifted from anger to something more calculated. Well, if you won't help your family willingly, maybe we'll have to take legal action. You know your father co-signed your student loans back in the day. Maybe we'll call those in early. Or maybe we'll tell everyone what an ungrateful daughter you are. Your company wouldn't like that bad publicity, would they? The threat hung in the air like poison. In that moment, something inside me crystallized. I'd spent my whole life trying to win their approval, trying to be good enough, trying to make them proud. And here they were, threatening me, trying to extort money from me. "Get out now," I said, my voice deadly calm, "or I'll call security." "We're not done with this," my mother hissed as she grabbed her purse. "You'll regret this, Diana. Family is everything, and you just turned your back on yours." Marcus knocked over my coffee table on his way out, sending my books and laptop crashing to the floor. "Bitch," he muttered. The door slammed behind them, and I stood there shaking, my mind racing. Over the next week, the harassment began. My mother called 17 times a day. When I blocked her number, she used different phones. She showed up at my apartment building twice more, and I had to ask the doorman to refuse her entry. She found my work email and sent long, rambling messages about family obligation and how I was breaking her heart. Marcus was worse. He started posting on social media, painting me as a selfish sister who'd abandoned her struggling family. He twisted the story, claiming I'd promised to help them and then reneged. His friends piled on, people who didn't know me at all, calling me names and sending threatening messages. Then my mother escalated. She somehow got in touch with a local news blogger who wrote a piece titled, "Tech Millionaire Refuses to Help Struggling Family." The article was full of lies, claiming my parents had taken out massive debt to put me through school. They hadn't. That they were facing foreclosure. They weren't. That Marcus had a disability that required expensive treatment. He didn't. The article didn't use my full name, but it had enough details that people in my industry started asking questions. My boss called me into her office, concerned about the negative attention. I explained the situation, showed her the threatening emails, and she was supportive, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Bad press was bad press. That night, I sat in my apartment with a glass of wine, staring at the city lights outside my window. I'd worked so hard to escape the toxicity of my family, to build something for myself. And now they were trying to tear it all down because I wouldn't bankroll their greed. I could give them the money. It would be easier. $500,000 would hurt, but I'd still have enough to be comfortable. I could buy my peace and be done with them. But as I sat there, I realized that's exactly what they wanted. They'd take the money, blow through it within a year or two, and come back for more. This would never end unless I ended it. I started making calls. The first was to my lawyer, a sharp woman named Jennifer, who I'd hired to review my stock option agreements. I told her everything: the threats, the harassment, the lies to the press. She listened carefully and then said, "We can work with this." The second call was to a private investigator. If my family wanted to play dirty, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. What the investigator found was illuminating. My parents weren't struggling at all. My father's business was actually doing quite well. He'd recently bought a new truck and taken my mother on a cruise. They had over $200,000 in savings. Marcus, meanwhile, had racked up $30,000 in credit card debt, buying clothes, electronics, and partying. My mother had been the one feeding the blogger lies, hoping to pressure me through public shame. But the most interesting discovery was about the house. The house my parents claimed to own outright actually had a recent second mortgage on it, $150,000 taken out 6 months ago. When the investigator dug deeper, he found that the money had gone to Marcus to start a business that had immediately failed. They'd lied to me about owning the house free and clear. Armed with this information, I made my move. First, I had Jennifer send a cease and desist letter to my mother, Marcus, and the blogger. The letter laid out every lie they'd told, backed up with documentation. It threatened a defamation lawsuit with specific damages listed. The blogger issued a retraction within 24 hours. Second, I compiled every threatening email, every harassing voicemail, every nasty social media post. Jennifer helped me file a restraining order against both my mother and Marcus. In the court documents, I laid out the pattern of financial abuse and manipulation that had characterized my entire childhood, something I'd never talked about publicly before. Third, and this was the part that felt like true justice, I contacted my father. I'd left him out of my anger because he'd always been more of a bystander than an active participant in my mother's favoritism. He worked long hours and mostly stayed out of family drama, but he needed to know what his wife and son had done. We met at a coffee shop. He looked older than I remembered, tired. "Diana," he said quietly, "I heard about what happened." "Which part?" I asked. "The part where Mom and Marcus showed up demanding $500,000? Or the part where they tried to destroy my reputation when I said no?" He sighed heavily. "Your mother told me you'd offered to help and then changed your mind." "Dad," I slid the folder across the table. "That's a lie. That's just one of many lies. Look at this." He opened the folder, and I watched his face change as he read through the evidence, the investigator's report, the financial records, the threatening messages, everything. "She took out a mortgage," he whispered, "on our house, without telling me." "To give Marcus money for a business that doesn't exist," I confirmed, "while telling me you were struggling and needed my help. Dad, they tried to extort me, and when I refused, they tried to ruin my career." His hands shook as he closed the folder. "I didn't know. Diana, I swear I didn't know any of this." "I believe you," I said, and I did. My father had his flaws. He was passive, conflict-averse, too willing to let my mother run the show, but he wasn't malicious. "But you need to decide what you're going to do about it." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I'm sorry for everything, for not protecting you when you were growing up, for not seeing how unfairly you were treated, for not standing up to your mother." "I don't need an apology," I said. "I need you to stop this. I need you to make sure they never contact me again." "They won't," he said firmly. "I promise you that." The restraining order was granted. My mother was furious, but legally barred from contacting me. Marcus raged on social media until his posts were used as evidence of harassment, and he was forced to take everything down and issue a public apology. But the real fallout happened at home. My father, it turned out, had his own breaking point. Learning about the secret mortgage, about the lies, about Marcus's debt, it all compounded. He'd been unhappy for years, I learned later, but had stayed for the sake of keeping the family together. Now he saw there was no family to keep together. He filed for divorce. My mother called me from a friend's phone, bypassing the restraining order one final time. I considered not answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Are you happy now?" she screamed. "You've destroyed this family. Your father is leaving me. We're going to lose the house." "You destroyed the family yourself," I said calmly. "You've spent decades playing favorites, manipulating people, and lying. You took out a secret mortgage to enable Marcus's irresponsibility. You tried to extort your own daughter. These are the consequences of your choices." "I'm your mother." "No," I said quietly. A mother loves her children equally. A mother wants them to succeed. A mother doesn't show up demanding money and threatening her daughter's career when she doesn't get her way. You were a woman who gave birth to me. That's all. You'll regret this. When you're old and alone, when you have children of your own, you'll understand what you've done. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up and blocked the number. That was the last time we spoke. The divorce was brutal. My father got a good lawyer, and because of the secret mortgage and financial deception, he came out ahead. He sold the house and split the proceeds, then moved to a smaller place across town. He started therapy, started dating, started actually living his life. Marcus moved back in with my mother into her cramped apartment. Without my father's income or my money to mooch off, he actually had to get a job. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, he was working retail and hating every minute of it. My mother tried to paint herself as the victim to anyone who would listen, but the divorce proceedings had made the financial documents public record. People in their social circle found out about the lies, the manipulation, the favoritism. She lost most of her friends. As for me, I moved forward. I changed my phone number, tightened my privacy settings, and focused on my career. The company continued to grow, and my stock became worth even more. I bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood. I adopted a dog. I started dating someone kind and supportive who came from a functional family and showed me what healthy relationships looked like. About 6 months after everything settled, my father reached out asking if we could have lunch. I agreed, cautiously. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said over sandwiches. "I don't deserve that, but I want you to know I'm trying to be better. I'm in therapy. I'm learning about my role in all of this, how my passivity enabled your mother's behavior." "I appreciate that," I said carefully. "I also want you to know that I set up a college fund for myself," he said with a small smile. "I'm taking classes, art history, something I always wanted to study but your mother said was impractical." "That's great, Dad." "And I'm setting boundaries with Marcus. I told him I'll help him with reasonable things, but I'm not bailing him out anymore. He needs to grow up." We didn't become close overnight. Trust takes time to rebuild. But we started having lunch once a month, then twice a month. He met my boyfriend. He came to my housewarming party. Slowly, carefully, we built a relationship based on honesty instead of obligation. I never heard from my mother or Marcus again, except through the occasional social media post I couldn't help but check. Marcus cycled through jobs, still blaming everyone but himself for his problems. My mother posted vague quotes about ungrateful children and family betrayal, fishing for sympathy. I felt no guilt. I'd given them every chance. I'd tried for years to earn their love and approval. They'd only wanted my money. One evening, about a year after everything had happened, I sat on my back porch with my dog curled up beside me, watching the sunset. My phone buzzed with a text from my father, a photo of him at an art gallery opening, smiling genuinely for the first time in what might have been decades. I realized I'd been holding my breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for my mother to find some new way to hurt me. But she couldn't anymore. I'd taken back my power. I'd set boundaries and enforced them. I'd chosen my own well-being over their manipulation. The doorbell rang, and my boyfriend called out, "Pizza's here." I got up, my dog trotting happily beside me, and went inside to my home, my life, my peace. The family I'd been born into had tried to drag me down, but the family I was choosing, my father in his new life, my boyfriend, my friends, even my goofy rescue dog, was built on respect and genuine care. My mother had demanded I give her everything. Instead, by refusing, I'd gained everything that actually mattered. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment. It's living well despite someone's best efforts to keep you down. It's refusing to let toxic people dim your light. It's choosing yourself when everyone tells you that's selfish. I slept soundly that night and every night after. No amount of money my mother could have taken from me would have been worth more than that.